Okay. I call to order the regular meeting of the City of Aransas Pass City Council, February 6, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Let's all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, thank you for this beautiful day that we are enjoying. I thank you for your blessings that you bestowed upon Aransas Pass. I pray, Lord, for the side of the world that just was affected by these earthquakes. I pray, Lord, that you be with the survivors. You be with those that are going through and digging through the rubble, looking for survivors, my Father.
Okay, we're going to go to presentations and proclamations. We're going to go to the new community member reception for February 16, 2023 from 5 to 6:30 p.m. at the Aransas Pass Civic Center. Caitlin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing us to come this evening just to give this quick little information piece. Tonight, all we wanted to do was take a moment and introduce this amazing new program that we've been working on, Community Welcome. And so this is going to be geared at new arrivals to our town, whether that's residential or commercial, and it's giving them an opportunity to come and meet different departments and discover the best ways to go about permitting processes, where to pay bills, all of those kind of frequently asked questions about their city of Aransas. And to top that off, we're also going to be presenting them just some other great and helpful information as well. So we are inviting our local businesses to participate on this and come in and explain to our newcomers the different products and services and perhaps even promotions. So far, we've got about 10 confirmed businesses that want to participate in this first meeting. Because it's our first one, Sandra and her department's been incredibly helpful. We were able to send this invitation out to all of our utility bills. Going forward, as this will be a quarterly meeting, those will be included in only our newer account members. And so, yes, this was just an FYI. Is next week on the 16th. We would absolutely love to see as many of you there as are available from 5:30 to about 6:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go to the police department grant with Marcy Gandera.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to give you all a brief update on where we stand with some of the grants that we have out right now, the awards, and some of the things that we're currently awaiting and submitting on. So currently, we've been awarded a $197,501 grant from the Commission on State Emergency Commissions, the Next Gen 911 program. This grant focuses on improvements in 911 communications, so we'll be able to upgrade GIS software, bring our system from 50% to 100% cloud-based, as well as software and networking. So that's all under that 911 program. The next funding that we'll be looking forward to is the opioid abatement settlement. The Texas Opioid Abatement Fund Council in sometime last summer put together a council to start receiving funds against opioid manufacturers, distributors, and other parties subject to violation of state or federal laws on the manufacture, marketing, distribution, or sale of opioids. The City of Aransas Pass is looking at a projected funding amount of up to $52,000 for opioid crisis remediation in Aransas Pass. And that would be funded through the police department and the EMS. The third we're looking at is an unofficial response, but we have received feedback that we will be looking at $30,000 for 2 remote cameras for patrol of the flats at Redfish Bay Causeway to reduce crimes and illegal dumping.
That's good.
The next section is pre-select. We've been pre-selected for a grant through the Office of the Governor, through the Public Safety Office. It's a ballistic resistant shield grant program for the fiscal year of 2023. We applied for 22 level 3 ballistic shields. That totals $123,429 for 22 ballistic shields, and we've been pre-selected on that. So we'll be going to the next round, and we'll hear back further in the next month. We're also currently awaiting for submission through the TxDOT Transportation Program. We submitted on a $2.1 million grant for a shared use path down DeBerry, Demery, and McMullen. These will connect large neighborhoods into the school system, and then will complete the route for all school districts in the city. First, that will be for biking and walking. So we're looking to hear back on that one. Probably hear back on that in the next month. And we're currently working on a Resilient Communities grant with the General Land Office. We haven't submitted on these just yet. These are all just in the works. This will fund the comprehensive plan and building department improvements for building codes, and of course training and certifications for staff. We're also working on funding for estuary boardwalk near 400 East Johnson Avenue, and we're also going to be leveraging funding from the Coastal Bend Foundation and the Edward Shelf Program for our foundation for equipment for the police department. We'll be combining that application. And then lastly, we're looking at the Caring for Coastal Gulf Region Grant Program partnership with CITGO. It's a $4,000 grant for supplies for cleanup efforts near bays and estuaries. Working with Tito on this because they've been planning cleanups in the near future, and so we could use that funding to pay for any kinds of supplies or anything, trash bags, removal debris, and they also would allow us to plant native species.
Oh, very nice.
So that's all I have for this evening.
All right,
Thank you
that's
so
very
much.
good. Thanks.
Okay, now we're gonna go to medical first responder update with Mr. Eric.
Just want to say Marcy has been a firecracker at going after that money. There's a lot of money in the pipeline, and we're getting good money feedback. Thank you, Marcy. So medical first responder update. I'm bringing this to your attention because I did read the recent articles in the Progress paper this past week, and after people had reached out to me and says, oh my gosh, did you happen to review some of the articles that were shared in the Progress? I said, no, but I will. And when I got the email or whatever, because I guess the paper came out before. So I wanted to bring EMS and fire in if there are any questions or concerns by the articles, because some of it made it kind of feel like maybe the council's not in touch with the needs or not answering to the needs that are being suggested by the leadership, and that's absolutely not the case whatsoever. We appreciate the support that the council has done. In fact, with this council, we have been able to evolve the service that's been provided by the fire department to bring in medical first response as needed. We have a very tight and strict protocol that defines when our communications division will send out the fire department to respond. Usually those are cardiac events, non-responsive, difficulty breathing, those major events that are going to require. And not only do we send the fire department out, we send the police officers out. And if you remember from a grant from the Coastal Bend Foundation, we outfitted every single one of our police officers with an AED, and we regularly do training and maintenance on those devices, and have since even expanded the access to those devices. So anything we can do to get that necessary immediate medical intervention immediately has been something that this council has instituted and supported going throughout the past several years. And having, as you see, Blanchard there as a medical director, he's allowed them to also evolve some of the services that they've been able to provide, and he continues to provide that service free of charge to the city just so that we can maintain first responder status. And he also provides service to Tri-County EMS. He works with them as their medical director as well, and a few other places. But I have fire department here and EMS. If there are any particular questions coming out of that article, Mayor, you or anybody else, if you would allow the floor.
The only thing I want to make sure is clear as crystal is that we are not now or anywhere in the future going to get in the ambulance business.
No, so
Okay.
that's a great question, and Gary and I have talked about that, so have the fire chief and them. I have worked for other municipalities to where the city did fund and operate. It is a money pit. It doesn't make money unless you do like dialysis patients, paying patients for private services.
Yeah, and that'll also probably put their company out of business. If
It
they
could
lost
very
Aransas
well do
Pass.
that. And I was getting there. When I came to Aransas Pass, I know that there's been a competitor that has wanted to reach out to the city and assume those responsibilities. The competitor provides service to neighboring agencies. But there have been problems that I've heard about, one. And two, I've never seen the level of efficiency and the care and support like what we've had through when Steve Knight was a director and continued on and expanded now
Yeah.
by Kerry DeLeon. The level of service that this EMS service has provided, Tri-County EMS, since late 70s? 1978.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Is
Ambulance
top
on the
notch.
kid there, yeah, it's been around
And she
forever.
continues to expand it, and they're doing it as a nonprofit. Blows my mind. I don't know how they can fund it and cities can't. Well, yeah, I do, because bureaucracy destroys everything. But they do a great job, and I would hate to change the level of service that our community has come to expect by getting rid of Tri-County. And I think that I share that sentiment by all the first responders.
Okay. All right.
Great point. Anything else, though, in particular, I'll hand it to
Anybody else?
them.
I just want to, we do have a good working relationship with the Tri-County, correct? And we
Yes.
know what calls go to them
Yes.
and what calls that.
Great question. So we actually looked at that because there was some belief that, maybe the fire department is being sent to calls that don't meet a protocol. So we went back. The protocol was established and given as a directive to my communications division. I gave that directive, I believe, in 2018. That protocol remains today. There is one minor change, and that came as a result of COVID. Carrie or Kelly could explain better on that. But if fire department is responding to calls they shouldn't be, that would be a communications issue that I would have to address with their communications team. I had Kelly pull up a listing, I think 6 months?
It was 6 months, 266 only EMS calls.
Yeah, 266 EMS calls that fire, you're saying, went to. He had to look at every single call to make sure that it met the criteria of that directive, and they did, or they were on the fence, so they had to favor life, health, safety as opposed to, and I think there was only like maybe 2 or whatever that might have been on the fence. So yes, the directive is being followed very closely, so we don't have a communications dispatch problem. But now, if the fire department gets a dispatch, they're going to respond to it no matter what. That's why I say that it comes down to communications having to make sure that they're following that directive. And we did go over that directive, and we went over it as a team as well with our TCO supervisor and the 2 directors here.
Okay, and will those calls going forward be continued to be monitored, that it doesn't start swaying?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
If
just
we overstep those bounds, Carrie will be the first one to step in and say, hey, why are you guys sending them to sprained ankle calls or something like that? She will reach out to me. In fact, Carrie shares feedback pretty regularly, so if there is an issue, yes, we will address it. We do not want to assume the EMS business.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure, that follow-up is going to be continued,
Yes.
looked at.
And we have not had an issue ever since the directive's been put out that we are aware of, so.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless a city council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for the regular meeting of December 5th, 2022.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now we're gonna go to city manager. Consider an action approving the contract with Grant Works Incorporated for the grant administration services for the community development block grant regional mitigation method of distribution in the amount of $277,225.
This once again is a grant for, through CDBG, MIT, MOD, for infrastructure. And GrantWorks would be the agency that would be our consultant on this and handling much of the paperwork, as they have many other grants. We've gotten a large number of them, and this one also falls into the category of providing infrastructure to the city. A representative of GrantWorks is here in case you have any questions of Kevin Crothers. Where are you? Oh, there you are.
So what new projects are
I'm
gonna
sorry?
be? What new projects will be under this grant?
David, what, have we decided on the projects? Okay.
Oh, okay.
They'll be infrastructure related.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We're looking at areas that do not have services right now, or we're looking at repairs, or you're just trying to figure out?
It's a mitigation grant, so we might have to, we might not be able to.
Yeah.
Am I correct? Yeah. It's a mitigation grant, so we might have to see if we can mitigate basically how do you lessen the inconvenience of either drainage or whatever the case is. But we'll find out, see what qualifies, see if we can actually add infrastructure. I'm not sure we can do it like the American Rescue Plan where we can go and add infrastructure where it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
This is more mitigation, so we have to make it, it has to qualify.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
okay, okay, okay.
Any other questions? Favor of the council?
I make a motion that we approve the contract with GrantWorks Incorporated for grant administration services for the Community Development Block Grant, Regional Mitigation Method of Distribution, MIT-MOD, in the amount of $277,225.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We go to consider an act to approve a resolution ordering an election to be held in the city of Aransas Pass on May 6, 2023, for the purpose of electing a mayor and council members to places 1 and 3, authorizing an election service contract with San Patricio County Elections Administration for the conduct of election, providing the procedures for holding such election, providing for notice of election and publication, providing for establishment of early voting polling place and designating election day polling place, location, and providing an effective date.
Yes, the purpose, as you stated, Mayor, the purpose of this item is to order the election for May 6, 2023, and that's for the election of mayor, council member place 1, and council member place 3 for a term to expire in May 2025. And it also authorizes the city to enter into a contract with San Patricio County to conduct the election. And just to let you know, the early voting period is going to be from April 24th through May 2nd. There are 2 12-hour days that are included in the election order, and I believe that's April the 25th and May 2nd. We're not required to have 12-hour voting, but we went ahead and included it to be able to give an opportunity to the working population.
That's for the voice.
Now this is just for the election, I mean, the equipment and all that has already been, or does that come later for renting the equipment?
That's all, that's
It's
all included, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Guess I didn't read it all. Sorry.
Well, I make a motion to approve a resolution ordering an election to be held in the city of Aransas Pass on May 6, 2023, for the purpose of electing a mayor and council members to places 1 and 3.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're gonna go to consider an act on adding Mary Juarez, city secretary, as signatory on all city bank accounts.
I make a motion that we authorize Mary Juarez, city secretary, as the signatory on all the city bank accounts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consider an act on approving of a memorandum of understanding for the use of the Aransas Pass Civic Center for the reunification site for the Ingleside Independent School District for a 5-year period.
Mayor and council. So this is an incredibly similar contract to another agreement that we have with the local school district. The Ingleside Independent School District did approach us just a few weeks back, and they have requested to enter into this agreement in the event of an emergency situation. Of course, we would all hope and pray that this is only a formality and that we would never have to actually enact these plans. However, this is something that the state is really pushing school districts and placing new mandates, if you will, so that all of them do have these types of things in place. And so being that we are one of the larger facilities in this immediate area, it does position the Civic Center as an ideal spot to facilitate the capacities that could be necessary in an emergency. So what we did was take the existing document that is in place with our local school district and basically changing the names of the parties involved so that it accurately reflects this request. And I did send that over for their review, of course, before bringing it to you. It is already from their parties, passed with approval. All that's left is your approval. On that note, because we are the single property that would facilitate this the best, and this would be our second agreement for use, we would want to, of course, be mindful that with such a small area, one emergency could very well be affecting multiple parties simultaneously, and what that could mean, again, in an extreme situation, should both school districts and potentially even the city of Aransas need to simultaneously have use of that facility, a plan should be in place. I don't recommend that prohibit us from entering into these agreements. However, consulting with Gary, of course, on this matter, it would be the most prudent idea, and we are in the process of calling together a meeting for these stakeholders and our emergency management leadership to review these scenarios and to have an active working plan in place so that we can safely facilitate all parties involved.
Just have a question. Was the city attorney involved in reviewing this document or be involved in that? Just a question.
With this current document, no ma'am, because we did, and I talked a little bit with Gary about that because it was an exact duplicate
Okay.
of one already approved and in place.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve an MOU for use of the Aransas Civic Center for the reunification site for the Ingleside Independent School District for a 5-year period.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consider an act on approval of a request for the use of the Aransas Pass Aquatic Center for the 32nd Annual Project Graduation Event on May 27, 2023, from 12 a.m. to 12.
We'll have it all day.
Basically, I
Okay, but it
apologize.
says
That's wrong.
12 a.m.
It's
to
from
12
midnight to 2 a.m. Yes, sir,
I was
you're
gonna say,
reading that
on the
correct.
computer, it
It
says
says
2
12 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Yeah,
There's something wrong with that picture.
yeah.
On that agenda item, you see how it has 12:12?
It should say
Oh, yeah,
2,
yeah.
12
Yeah, we
to
take the
2.
one out.
The memo is correct. Okay, yes, it looks on
It's
this
from
side.
12 p.m. to 2 a.m.
It
or
should
from
be, it
midnight
should
to
be
No,
12
it's-
a.m. to 2 a.m.
Right.
Correct, 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. It is the midnight to 2 a.m. window. Yes, sir.
Because they're going to be there about 24 hours.
It's a very
having a
long
party.
party. Those kids are not getting into any trouble. Mayor and Council, this is, of course, something, as you see, with the 32nd would suggest this is something that has had your support years running. The department definitely is prepared and ready and willing, and so with your support, we would recommend approval.
I'll make a motion that we approve the request for the Aransas Pass Aquatic Center for the 32nd Annual Project Graduation Event on May the 27th, 2023, from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now we're gonna go to Development Services, which is consider an act on the approval of demolition of the Little League concession stand.
Hello again, Mayor and Council. So we're asking for approval to allow the Public Works Department to demolish the concession stand ourselves. We are gonna have a normal Little League season, basically from March to June. beginning of June, we're gonna begin the construction of the new concession stand. But for the meantime, what we're asking is to allow us to demolish it before the season starts, to get rid of some of the unsightly construction, try to get it leveled out. I know we have some pest issues in there, so we're trying to get that cleared as well. And if you guys approve it, we're gonna try and get this done before they begin in March. I think they begin the end of March, so we're gonna try and get that before then. It is funded by the MDD grant. We're estimating with the equipment rentals and the haul off about $40K. We're expected to come under that, but right now we're expected to at least hit that as a target.
Is everybody with the Little League okay with that plan that we put out? I
Yes,
think you're
yes.
still gonna have like a portable
Correct.
concession stand
Yes,
deal.
portable concession stand, we're gonna have portable restrooms. They are unofficially aware of it. We do have their unofficial support. We are gonna meet with them tomorrow
Okay.
afternoon to discuss details, assuming the approval, and we'll go from there. So everybody is in the loop, so anybody that needs to be in that meeting will be in that meeting.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I know that the concession stand's going to be demolished. That's where the official scorekeeper is kept for the games. Where is that position going to be? What provisions have we made as a city to allow them to have those official scorekeepers, and also for running the scoreboards?
Yeah, we're gonna discuss that tomorrow afternoon, see what exactly their needs are. So we're gonna try our best to accommodate them, and we can update you with how the meeting goes.
Okay.
So, what is the timeline from start to finish, demolish it and get everything put together and make sure it's there before the season? And the most important part is, do we have a plan of what we're gonna do with the electrical, as far as to make sure that the lighting works and the scoreboards have electrical too? To me, yeah, it's too short of a time, and y'all are really gonna have to giddy up to be able to make this possible from start to finish in the season, because the season starts at a certain time, but the tryouts and all that start before the actual season
Correct.
starts, because they actually have to pick teams and put the teams together, and they will also be using the fields out there. And are we gonna have the proper safety procedures out there to make sure that nothing happens to them while y'all are out there demolishing and getting portable buildings and getting Skittle cans? Because of what I understand, when we put Skittle cans out there, like maybe last season or the season before, they weren't very happy about that. So we need to make sure that if we go through this, we don't fail as a city to be able to make it happen to where they have a season to be able to play it, and not come up with different excuses, whether the weather, whether this or whether that, or whatever it might be, for us not to be able to say to the Little League or to our citizens and our kids for the city to be able to go out there and have the season. Okay, it's very important we make sure, because we've been talking about this, about it being torn down, and we've been planning to have new plans, and we're gonna have a meeting on tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, 4
On the
o'clock.
plans. Why didn't we start demolishing the building way back then, to make sure that all this stuff was done, and not wait till right now? That's just my concern.
And I understand the urgency. I know we're saying not to fail as a city. It's never my plan to ever fail. I've done countless of projects, and none of them have failed. The timeline, I think, is very comfortable for us to get it accomplished. That's not really my main concern. My main concern is trying to accommodate more like the scorekeeper is what it is. I think everything else is under control. I do totally understand the importance. I think from day one since I started, this was like the main topic that was on my plate. So I do understand that there's a lot of people that have a stake in it, and I know the kids have a stake in it, so I wouldn't recommend something that I know I'm gonna fail at.
Okay.
We need to make sure it happens, okay?
Okay.
I mean, and I'm okay with tearing it down. and
It'd be
stuff,
one thing building it up in a
it's
month,
not-
tearing it down,
Because it doesn't.
yeah, that's,
Because it doesn't take that much money to do minor repairs on it, to be able to utilize that building for the last season. But this expense to be able to tear it down is gonna be there no matter what.
it's correct.
But It's just the issue and the planning part of it that bothers me, that's it.
And here's the thing, you have every right to not approve this agenda item, so I want you to know that if you don't feel comfortable with it, you're welcome to say, no, let's go and wait till June to do it. This is just what I'm presenting.
Yes, no, well, I'm just stating my opinion, okay?
Okay.
I'm only one person. You got 4 other people here that are actually gonna make up that mind whether they wanna do it or not. I just wanna make sure that we don't come back and say, hey, you know what? We failed, and we're at this point because we're not that good to be able to get it done. That's all I'm saying.
Okay?
To
Understood?
make sure that once it gets approved, you get it done.
Understood. I mean, even without that directive, I would have still gotten it done.
I just wanna make sure.
I feel that he's followed through on
No,
everything.
I don't wanna hear que panen calambres, that anybody's over there having cramps and stuff over this problem.
I move to approve the demolition of the Little League concession stand.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, we're gonna go to consider an act on ordinance amending the Aransas Pass Code of Ordinances by amending chapter this is the one with,
We table this one, yes. We're going to request that you table this one. There's more work to be done on this one.
okay, whereas by amending, chapter 29, Utilities, Article 6, Cross-Connection Program, section 29-204, Commercial Cross-Connection, and section 29-205, Residential Cross-Connection, providing a penalty for a violation, providing a savings and severability clause, providing for a publication and an effective date.
I make a motion that we table this item.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policies, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
Nice game.
Pinche violina.
Jason Follower, y'all know who I am because I come here and complain about you scumbags all the time. So I'll start with Carrie, and I'd like for you to pay attention, Mr. Blanchard. So, Miss Carrie, you sent me a cease and desist to quit talking about the will that you forged, but I will not, and I won't because I have the public documents on it that say you did it. With that said, what I'd like you to know that you have a statute of limitations of 10 years on a felony offense like that. So Chief Blanchard could do his job and arrest you. You have until 7/30/2024 to do that if you would like to do your job. If he would not like to do his job, what happens is citizens like us can actually take her to the grand jury and have her prosecuted with her own cases. Pretty neat stuff since you don't like doing your job, right? Chief Blanchard, you served a warrant on 8/15/2014 and you got on Facebook and rebutted me. Your statement was that the truck was confiscated, therefore the warrant was there and you were valid. But you didn't tell the whole truth, did you? You see here's your inventory log that you put on Facebook. But the actual log that's notarized says that you confiscated keys, not a truck. Liar, liar. Chief Blanchard, you also said, I'm sorry, there was $11,000 allegedly there, but the inventory only says $3,500, but I don't do hearsay, so I'm not going to call you out on that one. But I would like to call you out on this. The paperwork I have here says that you confiscated the man's cameras, connections, wires, and recording devices. Here's the log, which says you showed up at 11:19, but it doesn't because you deleted it or you never put it in there. But you were there at 11:19. I know you were there at 11:19 because his surveillance video that you confiscated at 6:15 shows you there at 11:19 at night. So if you confiscated all of his stuff at 6:15, how were you on his audio and video at 11:19 at night? Would you like to explain that to us? I did not think so. Mr. Gary, you know Blanchard doesn't do his job and you don't do anything about it. I complain about it numerous times. The only thing I've ever seen you do, Mr. Gary, is click that little clock you got there for 3 minutes of my talking. And I do believe we pay you about $170 grand a year to be a timekeeper. Doesn't make much sense to me. Maybe we don't need you either. So, council, since Gary won't do his job and take care of Chief Blanchard, will you do your job? I would expect you, Gary, to start doing it before us citizens take you to court. Have a nice day.
Bye. Anybody else?
Mayor and Council, Eric Blanchard, 600 Cleveland Boulevard. And I would like to just tell you that, as you've heard this evening, we're just still pushing the same old lie and deceptive facts about probably the greatest drug bust in the history of our police department and since I've been here. Very interesting that he would push the lie before getting the facts, but that's what it is. He's now requesting those facts after the fact. Also to talk, as I have referred many times before, I'm not going to investigate the allegations made against Kerry. No, it would be ill-advised and ill-prudent for the local police department to investigate the council member directly when he's alleging such a violation. I would take whatever evidence and I would provide that evidence to the district attorney's office, or he or anybody else acting for him can do that. He's been told that before. He has tried before on other bogus allegations as well, but he continues to push the lie. I just figured I would give my public comment to you, council. Thank you for your time. Back to you.
Also want to let you know, I wish I made $170,000 per year. More misinformation.
And I do have it.
Hey, that's enough. That's enough. You got your 3 minutes. He's getting his 3 minutes. That's enough.
If you're not going to listen, you
No, y'all can listen. Y'all broke the law just now. Y'all
We're not going to put up with that.
I do have a statement I would like to read, though.
Bye. No. I'm not going to deal with this.
If he's quiet, we'll let him stay, Mayor. If he acts out and you want me to escort him out, I'll
Yes.
escort him out.
Any other citizen comments?
I just want to remind y'all that this weekend is Party Gras, the second annual Party Gras, and it's growing like crazy, like hair. We have already almost 35 parade entries. We have about 40 craft vendors. We have 15 food vendors, and we have 15 gumbo teams. So I encourage all of y'all to come out to the downtown. Everything that we make in the downtown as Destination Aransas Pass is going toward improvements in the downtown. And so please support the event. Please encourage people to come, share the event, and hopefully this will be our second greatest event in Aransas Pass for years.
Thank you.
Heck, yeah.
My name's Donald Brennan. I live in 902 South Wright. I done animal control for 4 years, and I picked up dead animals off the city streets for that long. And animal control now is not doing it. I see a lot of dead animals right now. There's a big deer on DeBerry, pulled off on the side of the road. It needs to be picked up, and I hate to think that it'd sit there till it blows up.
Yes,
And animal control is supposed to do that.
yes, it needs to be picked up.
I will give that, Mayor, I'll give that instruction to animal control to pick the deer up. We were told by Texas Parks and Wildlife when that was first reported that the animal was gonna be picked up, at some point. They have an agreement with TxDOT, because wildlife like that, it's handled by Texas Parks and Wildlife, so we have a responsibility to notify them. So once I get their approval, we'll clean it.
Anybody else? Okay, now we're gonna go to,
I have something I'd like to say.
She can't be prohibited from speaking as a citizen.
As a citizen, okay.
But she should not engage in conversation with the council on an item that's not placed on the agenda.
Should she approach the podium, or can she do it from here?
For transparency purposes, I think it would be best for her to appear from the podium so that
I've read statements from here before.
Sure, I'm just making recommendations. It's your choice. But if you're speaking as a council member, then it's probably best not to engage in conversation, because that would be part of violation of the agenda, because it's not an agenda item. But if you want to just make a statement as a citizen, then I would just make sure that you clarify that you're making the statement as a citizen, so that other council members will not engage.
Okay. We have been viciously attacked repeatedly for many months now. My skin may have not have felt the blows, but my heart, mind, and soul are devastated. With the current times of bullying and slander, there must be a way to stop the devil from further damage. I have said this from the beginning, that there is a much bigger underlying source to this battle. We are in a spiritual warfare with a confused, fallen believer, a good versus evil, so to speak. It is proven throughout the world in times when God's words and deeds flourish, evil comes to divide, conquer, and destroy. Unfortunately, Aransas Pass has been in the battle since the 2019-2020 election cycle. Certain candidates were and have been led by evil to disrupt the growth and progress being made throughout the community. This council and our team leaders have all worked cohesively to bring AP out of the financial despair from the past. We've committed our efforts to clean up the town, from abandoned structures to the massive rehab at Con Brown Harbor to taking back control of the streets out of the hands of criminals. The words and actions from these meetings were extensions of the evil spawned from the 2019-2020 election. This evil is trying to wear me and the council down to a point we will give in, walk, or run away. Let me be very clear. I will not let evil adjust my plan. I will not run. I will not back down. There is much work to do without the ridiculous drama that is interrupting our progress. My feet move forward along with my goals. I'm positive I know who falls asleep at night with ideas and solutions to improve AP, and I'm positive I know who does not. Thank you all for listening.
Any other comments?
My name is William Garner. I personally don't know what's going on. I've been coming here. To me, she invoked the council many times just then. I believe it should be stricken from the records. Thank you.
Any? Come up here.
My name is Carol Salinas. I'm a resident of Aransas Pass, and the microphone apparently is working, but I did not hear. All I heard the gentleman say was he wants something stricken from the record, but I did not understand what he said. Thank you.
So do we want to answer that, or?
Yes.
Okay. He was asking that the statement that was read be stricken from the record. Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, now we're gonna go to city council and staff announcements.
Mr. Mayor and Council, there is a work session scheduled for February 22nd.
What about the first one
Oh, I'm
about
sorry.
relocating?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
There's
Come up here.
Thank you. I obviously just arrived. I do have a 3-minute statement to make. If you don't mind, I'll get my paper. Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Jenny Hill. Good evening, Council. I'm somewhat happy to be here. More so later. I'm going to hand you, each side, a couple of newspapers. It's the same paper. I'm here to comment on the recent animal control practice, which shocked me. So I brought it to light, as you see in the newspaper article. I provided you a copy of the front page, or the whole paper in this case, the Aransas Pass Progress, February 1, 2023 edition. My direct involvement occurred in the first article, beginning animal control accused. My intention to become involved is due to the second article, about more improvements for animal control. I'm sure you have read both articles, so no need to press it further. I'm angry, actually furious, that the dumping of Wilson, the cat pictured on the front, which I've known since birth, which is in a colony, which I am currently doing a TNR program on, privately funded, was even considered, much less carried out. I'll repeat that. I'm angry, actually furious, that the dumping of Wilson was even considered, much less carried out. But I'm here tonight, right now, to unite us, not to tear us apart. First hint is that slang dumping is more accurately abandonment of an animal, as addressed in the Texas Penal Code with punishments attached. Bottom line to this is the unwritten but accepted internal policy of the Animal Control Department, abandoning cats in the wild, in this case, out 361 on the road towards Port Aransas Ferry, past the last bridge. I've been there many times since it happened. I've called out trying to find him. He's not there. And the information of the location came from Captain Jones. The unwritten but accepted internal policy of abandoning cats in wild areas must stop. It must stop now and never occur again. But
Ms. Hill, your 3 minutes are up.
I'm sorry?
Your 3 minutes are up.
No.
Yes, you're allowed 3
Yes.
minutes to speak and give your.
I know. I read it, and it's a shorter 3 minutes here than before at my house. So may I just close in saying that
We gotta keep it uniform with everybody that comes up to the podium to 3 minutes.
I appreciate that.
I can't make an exception with you.
I
Because then I
understand.
need to make one with everybody else.
I know that, I accept the rules. I'm gonna back away. Okay.
Appreciate it, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you for your concern.
Thank you. Anybody else on citizen comments?
Mayor, if you don't mind, point of privilege, I'd like to just offer some feedback, because the police department has been working with Mrs. Hill, Captain Jones, as she stated, if you're okay with that. So she has been working closely, and I believe they even might have a way that we can kind of collaborate somewhat on the TNR, which she was going to get to. And I would hope that she would come back maybe next council meeting and share the rest of her statement with you. And we have addressed some of the internal concerns that were brought to our attention, and I appreciate Mrs. Hill's participation with my team.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go back to city council or staff announcements, which is the reallocation funds from the Harvey Disaster Recovery Funds to the city of Aransas Pass in the amount of $1.3 million, $1,324,564.
If you will allow me to explain that, Mayor and Council. It's an interesting amount of money we've received. It's not a matter of eligible, it's a matter of receiving it. We've been approved for that. And it's interesting to note that the reason we've been approved for it is because of the excellent way the $10 billion grant has been handled by the city and by GrantWorks, actually, working with GrantWorks. It's been a challenge because it's such a large, I'm talking about the $10 million. And it's been a challenge because of all the different projects, and it's worked out very well, to the point where a governmental agency said there is money left over from other cities, and you guys, Aransas Pass, will be getting it. And a big reason for it is one of several reasons is because of the excellent way and the efficiency that grant has been handled. We have weekly meetings, or every other week sometimes, to discuss the status, and it's been a good grant to work with, even though it's been very large. And we've been on top of it from the day one, and that's one of the reasons we're getting excess funds from elsewhere, not from us. That's a different matter. We have excess funds also, but we're working on using those elsewhere within the confines of the original intention of the grant. Part of the 1.3 will be LMI, be attached to LMI, but we can work with that. And we've had initial talks with David on how we can use those dollars. That is yet to be decided. All this, you're hearing about all these grants coming up. All this is happening pretty much at the same time. But it's been doing that for years, the number of grants coming into the city and effectively using them. So just want to point that out to you. If I may go into the workshop, Mayor and Council. A number of items. We're not going to be able to do all these items on February 22nd. That's the scheduled date for the workshop meeting. Need to call out some of these items. One that I've been getting a lot of calls on, and I think some of you have also, is what is that Green Cottage Housing Development Project at Con Brown Harbor?
I think we need to put that one back and do some more digging into that.
Would agree. Would agree. What I know at this point, and Mary, were we able to distribute?
No, sir.
The memo, you'll be getting a memo on that from the person who is talking about it, but essentially very small cottages at Con Brown Harbor, starting with a small number and working up to a larger number, and be used for fishing and tourism, etc. But it'll be at Con Brown Harbor, and that could preclude any other plans you might have for Con Brown Harbor also. As Jason just said, we may want to look into that before we keep that on the agenda for the 22nd. If you have any comments, now would be the time to let me know. You don't know much about it. None of us really know a lot about it. You'll be getting a memo from the gentleman, and then we can talk about it at a later time. But I'll take Jason's suggestion under advisement also, and the need to look into that further. And I would agree with that. I think we need to look into it further.
That's the first I've heard of it, so
Yes.
I have no idea who brought this in.
It was from a potential developer. He's bringing it in. So you don't know anything about it at this point. Much more work needs to be done, but want to make you aware of it. He is requesting to bring this forward, but before we do to a work session, I wanted to see if you even wanted to talk about it. I know some of you have looked into this, and I've gotten calls on it since it appeared on the agenda, on this agenda, and we'll continue to bring you information on it also. So anyway, that's all I had on the agenda for the 22nd, other than we're going to have to call out some of these items yet to be determined which items those will be. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
If I can make a suggestion on what
Absolutely,
items,
yeah.
I think the residential homes at city entrances, if we can address that. If you can look at putting that on the workshop.
Yes.
And, because I just think it's something that we need to, we have to look at and not keep putting it, and
Be happy to do that.
just do that. And,
Okay, very good. That's all.
Okay. Well, then I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?